Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over 5 Pokemon games that could be released in 2024. Now, I must say this isn't due to any leaks or speculations. There's no rumors about these games. These are just games that I think that have a potential to be released, and I'll be ranking them out of 10, basically on how good they'll be and the potential all-in-one combined score. Now, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. This is the channel to be kept up to date on all Pokemon news, so we have the perfect place to be if we want to keep up to date on news. Apart from that, let's get straight into it. First off, we've got the games that are probably most speculated about to be released this year. We've got Black and White 3 or remakes, or however you want to call it, or whatever they will call it. These games are probably the most anticipated and rumored to be released for this year. I've made a whole video about why I don't think they'll be released this year, but there is still definitely a chance. Just because I don't think they will be doesn't mean that I'm not a leaker. I'm just essentially just a news channel, essentially, and I don't think that they'll be released, but there's definitely a possibility they could be. One of the kind of critical evidences we have got towards basically having a remake is the fact that it kind of falls in order of what could be released. So think of it like this: since the Nintendo Switch has been released, we'll start off with Sword and Shield. You had Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then after that you had the remake of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and then you had the kind of spin-off game, if you want to call Legends Arceus a spin-off game. It's part of the mainline series, but it's not. It's a bit of a weird one, bit of a weird grey area. It's its own little thing on the side, but it's still fantastic, don't get me wrong. I won't call it a spin-off game. But then you had Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then after that then you had Generation 9 in Scarlet and Violet. So the next logical step is another remake. And then obviously if we have the remake released this year of Pokemon Black and White, that is when we'll have Pokemon Legends ZA released next year, and then in 2025, 2026, whenever they release Pokemon Legends ZA, we'll have Generation 10. It kind of follows in the order that they have had a pattern of recently, and quite frankly, like I said, I don't think they'll be releasing this year, but it does make sense, to be honest with you. These were probably the most likely ones to be released. So obviously a remake being released is the rumoured thing for this year, and the reason we are going for Black and White is because obviously BDSP, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, were based off obviously Diamond and Pearl. So these are the next games in line to be remade. Hopefully, if they do it, they remake Pokemon Black, White 2. But these are probably the most likely. For that, I'll probably be giving these games a score of 7.5 out of 10 for probability and the fact that they would be a good game to be released, everything combined. 7.5 out of 10 kind of feels right, just because I don't know, there's something in me that says it's not going to be released, but they're definitely most likely to be. Moving over, we have the potential release of maybe a Let's Go Johto games to be released this year, and this is personally one that I am hoping for. I know Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee got a lot of criticism for kind of being too easy, and quite frankly, one of the criticisms was the fact that they should be spin-off games and not part of the main series, which I do agree with. But it doesn't mean that they aren't really fun games, which they were, and quite frankly, there's no pattern like we had with the Black and White 2 remakes, but these would just be really fun games to be released, and kind of like the purpose that these games would serve is to kind of entertain fans until Legends ZA comes out, because we don't want a big release to just kind of cool us over until Legends ZA comes out, because this might be a massive project ZA. So I think Let's Go Johto is a fantastic idea to kind of have, look, we've got this massive game coming out in the next year. But obviously we don't know when next year it's coming out, but I understand you guys want a game, so have Let's Go Johto. It's going to keep you entertained for a few months, a year, until people start getting speculations about ZA again. And I think even if they do have more pushbacks on ZA, we've got a brand new Pokemon game out that people can still play, and I think it is a fantastic idea for them to release this game. Like I said, it'll be a massive disappointment if, obviously with Legends ZA coming out being this massive release they've been leaking, that if they were like, okay, we'll release, for example, a highly anticipated game quite like Black and White remake, sorry, it would be a really disappointment, because it's kind of like, it's a bit like having an appetizer, like, you know, there's a bit of food before you have your main course. No. These are games, Black and White remakes are games that should be having their own spectacle made out of them, and I think you could definitely get away with giving Let's Go Johto out as a bit of a teaser, a bit of a filler game. That's the purpose they serve, and quite frankly, as filler games, they are fantastic. Although I don't think they're likely to be released, I think Let's Go is probably in the bin, quite frankly. I feel like Let's Go Johto and Pikachu, even though it sold very well, they won't release them again. Maybe they were just one-off games, because obviously Pokemon Go at the time was such a big hype. I think that these games, with probability kind of thought into it, but the idea of them just being filler games is such a good idea. I'm going to be giving these a 7 out of 10. They would be quite higher if I didn't pick a probability, but the fact that they're probably not likely to happen, and there's not been many leaks at all with them, I think it's a very, very poor chance of it happening. If we're going off probability loads, probably 2. But I think 7 out of 10 just for the idea of just being a fantastic idea to fulfill the games. I think it's a fair score. Moving over, I've got the kind of rogue idea of re-releasing and updated graphics and basically just a remake of Pokemon Colosseum. These are games that I haven't played Pokemon Colosseum, nor have I played Pokemon Stadium. And quite frankly, I really want to play the games, but obviously I need like an emulator and stuff like that, and I just never really get round to doing it. But if they made a spectacle out of it, and quite frankly, if they increased Pokemon hype, because right now Pokemon hype's so low, they increase Pokemon hype and they have Pokemon Colosseum as the spike of that hype, it would be such good videos I can make about them. And I really want to make these games, and I think it's just a good idea. Obviously, Pokemon Colosseum are kind of like fan favorite games. I think when you look at obviously just normal Pokemon fans, they might not really know what Pokemon Colosseum is. They're not these massive spectacle games. You think of the mainline games, and you think obviously you've got all the different regions. You don't really think of Pokemon Colosseum because these are just spin-off games. But quite frankly, when it comes to spin-off games, you've got so many, and these are highly regarded spin-off games. And quite frankly, there is a sort of cult following that these games do serve. I don't think these games are very likely at all. I think, quite frankly, these are probably the second least likely out of my 5 lists. I haven't gotten to my least likely to be released. I think we'll be very, very lucky to have these released, and this will be probably the most ridiculous prediction I'll ever make if these games are released. I think I'm pretty sure they had something to do with Stadium on Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Stadium on Nintendo Switch, something to do with the expansion pack. So they might do something like that, but a full remake, I definitely can't see happening. Quite frankly, I might just give this one a 3 out of 10. I think it's a great idea, but the probability is super, super low. There's far more chance of a Let's Go Johto remake, because although the games were released in 2018, so we're talking 6 years ago now, Pokemon Colosseum was released in 2000, so 24 years ago, and we still haven't had a remake. I definitely can't see these games happening. It was just quite a nice idea. Coming to the penultimate idea now, I think quite a broad one, but we're going to be going for just basically some old Pokemon ports kind of being released. So basically, like I said, Colosseum, instead of being a remake, it'll just be the old games onto the Nintendo Switch. Now this, I think, could probably be, apart from Let's Go Johto, probably one of the better ideas again, because quite frankly, Pokemon and Nintendo are so against people using emulators. It's so hard to make videos on Pokemon without emulators, because if you're playing an old game on the DS, you've got to get it shipped off and people will implement a graphics card into it, and it's such a pain and quite frankly very expensive. So the fact that they haven't released ports on the Nintendo Switch sooner, it's ridiculous. It's such a stupid idea. They could release older games onto the ports. They've done it before. That's the worst part. Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red and Blue were all implemented onto the 3DS. And I bought Pokemon Yellow. Like, these are things that they definitely have the ability to do. I understand it's slightly different with the DS. You've got the screens upon each other, and that's what the games were originally like. Well, they weren't. No. It was the bloody Crystal games, and they were on the Game Boy. It's definitely doable. But the DS games, okay, I understand. Yes, you've got two screens. You just have them next to each other because they are just ports, you've got to remember. Unfortunately, they're not going to look fantastic. Game Boy Advance games would look far better, yes. But DS games, yeah, they would look maybe a bit clunky if you have them left and right and stuff like that. But quite frankly, if they're just ports, it's just something you have to live with. And I guess it gives content creators such a great opportunity to replay these old games and really build the hype up with Pokemon. So with everything included, probability, I don't think it's the worst probability because they've done it before. And idea, I'm going to be giving this one a modest 5 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic idea. They've done it before, they could do it again, but I just don't see them doing it. And the sad reality is, I don't see them doing any of these because I just don't see any games getting released this year. I think 5 out of 10 is probably a very boring score to give it. It's a very safe score to give it. Unfortunately, it is just the score that is probably best for this scenario. Finishing off, we've got Generation 10. Now, these aren't going to bloody happen at all. This is basically just going to be me explaining why Generation 10 won't be happening. We don't know any information about Generation 10 at all. Kind of with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we kind of knew it was going to be about the peninsula, the Spain and Portugal sort of area. So we just got no information about Generation 10. Quite frankly, I just kind of chucked it in here because I needed one more idea. There's no way they'd release Generation 10 as well when we've got a new console just around the corner. Like, it would be a completely utterly stupid idea. So the reason I have put it in here is because it's very Nintendo to do that and very Pokemon to do that. We've got a brand new console around the corner. Let's release a brand new game that should be definitely on that console. Like I said, Generation 10, we don't know anything about it. It'll probably be coming out now in 2026. We'll have Z8 coming out next year and probably have Generation 10 the year after that. My hope is it's not anything like Scarlet and Violet. It's not open world. Make it open world but like Legends Arceus. That worked fantastically. Don't make it like Scarlet and Violet. It was just awful. They were god awful. So probability and score for Generation 10. I'm not going to bother talking about it. It's a 0 out of 10. There's no chance these games are going to happen at all. But apart from that, make sure to leave me in the comments below what you think about the games I have chosen today. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.